With Dragon Ball FighterZ Season 3 came the possibility of choosing a character's assist, and with that, the number of possible good teams has exponentially increased. One of the most asked questions that I get on stream is my team good? Is X, Y, and Z characters together? Is that a good team? Now, I'm of the opinion that if you have fun playing your team, yes, it is a good team. Because if you're having fun, you're gonna want to play the game more, and the more you play, the better you get. If you're not playing this game for money, play it for fun. And if your team is fun to play, yes, it is an amazing team. That said, if you're trying to break into the competitive scene, or sometimes just simply switching the order of your characters can make a dramatic difference and improve your team as a whole. So today, together with the Portuguese fighting game community, we have developed a very easy method for putting together a team in Season 3. This guide is mostly aimed at beginners and mid-level players. If you're a professional, you're not here listening to me talk about anything. Honestly, if you're good enough, you can play whatever you want. Yeah, and you know what works and what doesn't. So this guide is definitely aimed at beginners to mid-level players. Shout out to the Portuguese fighting game community, PT Fighters. I know there are a few of you who are Portuguese and are watching this video, and sometimes you guys ask me, where do I find tournaments? Where do I find people to play against? And the answer is PT Fighters. They have a Discord full of players ready to fight and help you out in different games, so I'll leave a link in the description down below so you can join this amazing community. Also, shout out to Akaoni, the French pro player who also helped out with, you know, finalizing some fine details at the end. Alright, let's get this started. We're gonna talk about three main things in this video: position, assists, and synergy. Let's start with position. A big change in Season 3 was limit break. When you're down to your last character, they get a 10% damage buff, allowing you to melt opponents' health. This has made the pick of a good anchor character that much more important for building a good team. And if you don't know, teams are divided between point characters, the ones who go first, mid, the ones in the middle, and anchors, the one that is left for the end, the last character to die. So here's a list of solid Season 3 anchors that you should be using. Once again, this list is meant for beginners to mid-level players. If you're a pro, you can even run someone like Base Vegeta anchor. He's very versatile this season. He can pretty much play in any position, but if you're a scrub like me, you don't want Base Vegeta as an anchor. At least one of these characters should be on your team. You can run more than one if you want, but one of these should be your last character standing. And this is why. All of these characters have solid neutral by themselves. Some are the type that can get in easily because they have some amazing EX moves that are 50% off now, or just have incredible normals to contest air-to-airs and force you to block from a distance. Others are the type that can play keep away safely, then can poke you with ki blasts from a distance or other projectiles that make it very dangerous for any character to try and get in. And then you have Z Broly, which is both. All of these characters also take good advantage of the limit break buff. They can all deal incredible damage while solo, and they all have good enough assists to sit on the back line for the entire match. Some of them also have some good mix-up even when they're alone, be it stagger pressure or command grabs, but not all of them excel at this. For instance, no matter how much you buff those EX flips from Trunks, if you're using him without assist, you're just asking to get punished. But with Sparking Blasts, Trunks is an insane mix-up machine. So depending on the anchor you pick, that might also affect your strategy of saving Sparking Blast for the end or not. So to summarize, this is the list of anchors, and this is why they are on this list. And that's pretty much everything these anchors have, and it's important to know why they're here. They all have solid neutral, whether it be keep away or rush down, good solo damage with limit break on top of that. They all have a good assist for sitting on the backline during the entire match, and they have at least decent solo mix-up options. Now, outside of these anchors, there are some other characters that have pretty much all of these attributes, but they're missing one or two of them. But if what they're missing is not a good assist, then they can go on the mid position. Here is a list of our mids. These are characters that have a good assist, either for block strings or neutral, so you can definitely take good advantage of them with your point character. But at the same time, they are either lacking good solo mix-up, or their neutral game isn't as strong as the anchors. With that said, all the characters on this list have a good assist, whether it's for block or neutral, and work well with only one assist, which will be the anchor in your team. These mid characters either don't need that much help to get in from neutral, or don't need that much help to open you up once they make you block, meaning one assist is enough. The rest of the cast will obviously go into our last slot, the point characters. These are characters that either have bad assists that don't really help you much in neutral or block strings, or characters that need 2 assists, or at least really like having 2 assists assists to maximize what they do. And in Season 3, because you can pick assists, almost everyone got a good assist, at least one. But some characters still rely heavily on having two others on the backline to execute a lot of stuff. So point characters either have bad assists or need two supports. And you might be looking at this list and thinking, wow, this feels quite limiting. Let me open this up for you. Any character in Dragon Ball FighterZ can be a point character. Every single character in this game works better when they have two assists. Some need it more than others, and that's why we have our point characters, but they all get better if you have two support characters. So the mid characters on our list can also be point characters, and any anchor can also be a mid or a point. You can move characters up in this diagram, you just can't move them down, which means you can make a variety of teams. You don't have to make a team with a point, a mid, and an anchor. You can have a team with 3 anchors if you want. You can have a team with 2 mids and 1 anchor. You can have a team with 1 point and 2 anchors. The rule is basically, if you want a point character, you can only pick 1, and you always need to have at least 1 anchor. Other than that, you can kind of go crazy. Note that this diagram helps you think about how to build your team. It's not an absolute rule book. Maybe you're already running a team that works with this, but looking at the scheme, maybe you should think about switching their order. There are obviously exceptions to what we're presenting here, but again, we're aiming this guide towards beginners and mid-level players. If you're struggling to build a good team, then what you should be doing is following these rules instead of looking for the exception. That will limit your options way more than just following the rules. And hey, maybe the exception will come once you're not as stuck trying to build your team. Once you find something that works, maybe then you can start exploring and experimenting. But let's say, for instance, you think that Nappa's assist is good enough to put him in the mid tier. Go ahead, do your thing. The list is the result of a big discussion with the top players from Portugal, and we don't all agree with each character's place in this list, but this was the final result. So if you disagree with a specific character place, yeah, go ahead and change, as long as it's not Nappa. Nappa's assist is good enough for a mid, but he still likes having 2 assists on the back line for his Cyberman plantations. Remember the rules of each category. He's definitely a point. But then we have someone like Teen Gohan. Teen Gohan doesn't need 2 assists to be good. He's got insane neutral and great mix-up, but in this case, his assists aren't all that great, which makes him a point character, unless you want to use a C assist. C assists give you a lot of reward for hitting an opponent, and they can even be great tools in neutral or block strings, but the problem with C assists is their cooldown. It's incredibly long, so that's a huge sacrifice that you're making. If you want to use C assists, a lot of these point characters could become mids, theoretically, but I would say do that as a last resort. If you're trying to build the best possible team, you should first consider the different options you have with A and B assists, the ones that have the standard cooldown. If you really must go for a C assist, go ahead, but know that you're paying a huge price for it. The basic idea for building a team in Season 3 is the following. As your point character, you want to have someone who can do a lot of bullshit with 2 assists. I'm talking 50-50 mix-ups, I'm talking winning the neutral with no effort because you're super oppressive, I'm talking insane amounts of damage, you name it. This is who you want as your point character, and a lot of the characters listed in mids or anchors actually fit this description nicely. Characters like Kid Buu or Z Broly are extremely strong as point characters because they're insane to block against when you have 2 assists. But even though you don't have to limit yourself to our list of point characters, you can look at the entire thing, some of the anchors and mids on this list don't really fit that description. You can always play them as point characters if you want, but the more BS your point character has, the better. For mid character, you want a character that works well with only 1 assist, which are all of the characters in our mid and anchor categories, and bonus points if they have good EX moves. Someone like Goku Blue or Bardock, for instance, that allows you to win the neutral or easily punish the opponent from a distance because you only need to use 1 assist to make it safe in case something goes wrong. And finally, your anchor needs to have some good solo mix-up and easily kill your opponent with Sparking Blast and Limit Break. That's basically how this list works, but it's not like every character works with each other. So the next topic we're going to talk about is assists. Yeah, we just spent a long time talking about positions, but don't worry, assists and synergy will be a lot faster. There are 3 main things that assists are used for: combo extensions, block strings, and neutral. Almost all assists will give you combo extensions one way or the other, so the most important factors we're looking at here is how good an assist is for block strings and for neutral. To check how good they are for block strings, turn on your frame data in training mode, set your opponent to block, and call an assist. The number you're looking for is the frame advantage. This is the number of frames an assist keeps an opponent blocking. The standard numbers are around 30. You have a few assists with 25 frames, and that's still fine for most characters, but below that, the assist isn't that good for block strings. Some characters can get away with that, but again, you'd be looking for the exception and not the rule. And this is also the reason why the new Bardock assist is godlike with 40 frames of block stun. That is insanely high. It allows you to do so much before the opponent can even move. You want assists that make your block strings airtight. That is, without any gaps for jumping, for reflecting, vanishing, anything. The only option you're giving your opponent, if you have an airtight block string, is to spark or guard cancel. And you don't always have to go for this airtight block string, but you want to have that option. And then to check how good an assist is for neutral, just check how much of the screen he covers. If you're here and your opponent is there, does calling your assist help you cover that distance safely? This is why most people run beam assists on their team. They're very helpful in neutral. And once again, the Bardock assist travels incredibly far. Even though it's not a beam, it's still an amazing neutral assist. So when making your team and you're picking the assists for your different characters, what does your point character need? Do they need more help on block? Do they need more help in neutral? This is something you'll figure out after playing a couple of matches very fast. Because you will either, 1, have trouble opening up your opponent, or 2, you'll have trouble getting in at all. What people normally do is have their anchor be their neutral assist and have their mid be their block string assist. There are exceptions, but again, this is how it usually works. If your mid character can actually give you an assist that also helps you in neutral, even better. You have 2 neutral assists. And once again, we're talking about A and B assists. You can totally use C assists, just don't go to them as your first option, because there's a price to pay, and it ain't cheap. Finally, let's talk about synergy. This topic is a bit more complex because it's very character specific. Basically, and keeping in mind what we talked so far about points, mids, anchors, and their assists, you want a team that makes each and every character you pick better when they're together. For instance, if you pick base Goku as your anchor and you don't have a way to set him up for a spirit bomb, what are you doing? That's a major reason to pick base Goku. If you have him as an anchor, no matter who you pick, it needs to be someone that gives him a spirit bomb setup. Preferably your mid character, since your point character might die very early in the match and then, hey, no spirit bombs for you. But if both your point and mid characters can set him up for a spirit bomb, even better. You have even more synergy with Goku. But at the same time, you have to be thinking, what is base Goku giving those other 2 characters? What are they getting out of his assist? These are questions that you need to be asking yourself constantly when building your team. This is how you maximize synergy. If you pick Android 21 and your assists do not help or extend combos, then you're not picking a team that supports Android 21, which is why I find it hard to play 21 with Kid Buu, for instance. It's not impossible to extend Android 21 combos with Kid Buu's assist A, but it's hard, and that's something you shouldn't be ashamed of. Even if some piece of tech is theoretically possible, do you have the time to practice it and make it work consistently, or is it simply not for you? We're not all professionals. Some stuff we see on live streams, we just can't do it. We don't have the time to practice. We don't have the time to put into this game and just make it work consistently. In this case, I don't think extending Android 21 combos with that assist is gonna be for me. So if I ever decide to run that team, I'll probably have to run Kid Buu's B assist. But what I'll most likely do is actually just not run Kid Buu at all. I think there are other characters that synergize better with Android 21. And you're gonna have to figure this one out yourself. There are way too many characters to cover all of them, but the more synergy you have, the better your team will be. Check how each character can help each other on blocks and extensions. The more tech you can execute with your team, the better, the more synergy it has. And don't forget that it goes both ways. You might be loving what the Kefla assist gives Vegito, but don't forget to check what the Vegito assist gives Kefla. And different teams will have different options. You will never have a team that gives you every single option in the game, but the more tools you have, the better your team is. So to summarize, here is our list of point, mids, and anchor characters. You can move the characters up when building a list, but you cannot move them down. When choosing an assist, try A and B assists first and check what do you need. Block strings or neutral assists. And don't forget to check your team synergy. What do these characters give each other? What options do they open up? The more, the better. Once again, thank you, PT FighterZ and Akaoni, for your help. Link to PT FighterZ Discord in the description down below. Portuguese only, sorry. They don't speak English over there. I mean, they know how to, but it's the Portuguese fighting game community. And I hope this video helped you out somehow. And if it did, I'd love to know what team you've built following these rules. And let me know if you're enjoying the team or not. Remember, the first thing I said, a good team is a team you'll have fun with. And as always, thank you very much for watching. My name is Globku, and I'll see you next time. Bye.